Imagine settling into a darkened movie theater. The smell of popcorn hangs in the air. On the screen, a captivating story unfolds. But something else is happening. A message flashes on the screen. Drink Coca-Cola, eat popcorn. These subliminal messages, it was claimed, could influence your behavior. Though debunked as a hoax, it sparked fear and fascination. The idea of hidden manipulation tapped into deep-seated anxieties. It ignited a debate about subliminal influence that continues today. The concept of subliminal influence is far from new. Its roots can be traced back to the late 19th century, a time of burgeoning interest in the unconscious mind. Victorian-era hypnotists experimented with subliminal suggestion, whispering commands to their subjects while they were in a trance-like state. These early explorations hinted at the possibility of influencing behavior without conscious awareness. The 20th century saw the rise of mass media, and with it, new opportunities for subliminal persuasion. The invention of film in particular provided a fertile ground for experimentation. The concept of the 25th frame emerged, suggesting that a single frame inserted into a film strip and flashed for a fraction of a second could bypass conscious perception and implant messages directly into the viewer's subconscious. This technique, though often exaggerated and sensationalized, captured the public imagination. Rumors spread of subliminal messages hidden in movies and advertising designed to manipulate our desires and influence our choices. The idea of subliminal messaging tapped into Cold War anxieties about propaganda and mind control, fueling a sense of paranoia and distrust. While the idea of subliminal messaging is undeniably compelling, the reality is far more nuanced than the sensationalized headlines suggest. Decades of scientific research have yielded mixed results, with some studies suggesting limited and short-lived effects of subliminal priming, while others have failed to replicate these findings. One of the key challenges in studying subliminal influence is the difficulty of isolating its effects from other factors that shape our thoughts and behaviors. Our minds are constantly bombarded with stimuli, and it's nearly impossible to control for all the variables that might influence our responses. Moreover, the ethical implications of such research raise serious concerns. The idea of manipulating people's behavior without their knowledge or consent is ethically fraught, and researchers must tread carefully to avoid crossing the line into manipulation. Despite these challenges, there is growing evidence that subliminal cues can have subtle but measurable effects on our perceptions, emotions, and behaviors. These effects are often short-lived and context-dependent, but they nonetheless suggest that our unconscious minds are constantly processing information and influencing our conscious experience in ways we may not fully realize. To understand how subliminal messaging might work, it's helpful to consider the role of priming in shaping our perceptions and behaviors. Priming refers to the phenomenon whereby exposure to one stimulus influences our response to a subsequent stimulus, even if we're not consciously aware of the connection. For example, if you're briefly shown the word yellow, you'll be slightly faster to recognize the word banana than an unrelated word like blue. This is because the concept of yellow has primed your mind to think of related concepts, making them more accessible in your memory. Subliminal priming works in a similar way, but the initial stimulus is presented below the threshold of conscious awareness. While we may not consciously register the prime, it can still activate related concepts and associations in our minds, subtly influencing our subsequent thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. This priming effect can be seen in a variety of contexts, from our preferences for certain brands to our judgments of other people. For example, studies have shown that subliminally priming people with words related to elderly can actually slow down their walking speed, highlighting the powerful, if unconscious, influence of these subtle cues. Advertising is where concerns about subliminal persuasion are most pronounced. The idea that advertisers use hidden messages to manipulate our desires has been a source of public anxiety for decades. While there's no evidence of widespread subliminal techniques, priming and subliminal influence are at play in many marketing strategies. Advertisers use imagery, music, and sensory cues to evoke positive emotions and link products with desirable lifestyles. For example, a beer commercial might feature attractive people at a party, associating the product with social connection. These messages operate on our emotions and desires, bypassing rational defenses. By associating products with positive feelings, advertisers create powerful subconscious connections, influencing our decisions. The use of subliminal techniques, whether in advertising, political campaigns, or other contexts, raises a host of ethical concerns. The primary concern is one of consent. When individuals are not aware that they are being influenced, they are unable to give informed consent to the persuasion attempt. This lack of transparency and control over the messages we're exposed to can be seen as a violation of our autonomy and a manipulation of our subconscious desires. It raises questions about the boundaries of persuasion and the limits of our free will. Moreover, the use of subliminal techniques can be particularly problematic when employed for manipulative or harmful purposes. Imagine, for example, the potential for abuse if subliminal messages were used to promote hatred, prejudice, or violence. The ethical implications of such applications are deeply troubling. While there are no easy answers to these ethical dilemmas, it's crucial that we engage in open and informed discussions about the use of subliminal influence. We need to establish clear ethical guidelines and regulations to ensure that these techniques are not used in ways that violate our autonomy or harm individuals or society as a whole. The digital age has ushered in a new era of subliminal influence, with algorithms and personalized content delivery systems constantly shaping our online experiences. From targeted advertising to curated news feeds, we are bombarded with information and messages tailored to our individual preferences and browsing histories. While these personalized experiences can be convenient and engaging, they also raise concerns about the potential for manipulation and the erosion of our privacy. The algorithms that power these systems are often opaque, making it difficult to understand how our data is being used to influence our choices. Moreover, the sheer volume and pervasiveness of online information make it increasingly challenging to filter out noise and critically evaluate the messages we're exposed to. We are constantly being primed and influenced by subtle cues and associations, often without even realizing it. In this digital landscape, media literacy and critical thinking skills are more important than ever. We need to be aware of the ways in which our online experiences are being shaped by algorithms and personalized content, and we need to develop strategies for navigating this complex information environment in a mindful and discerning way. While the debate over the effectiveness of subliminal messaging continues, there's no denying that our unconscious minds play a powerful role in shaping our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. From the subtle cues that influence our first impressions of others to the emotional triggers that drive our purchasing decisions, our unconscious minds are constantly at work, processing information and influencing our conscious experience in ways we may not fully realize. Understanding the interplay between our conscious and unconscious minds is essential for navigating the complex world of persuasion and influence. By becoming more aware of the subtle cues and associations that shape our perceptions and behaviors, we can become more discerning consumers of information and more conscious architects of our own choices. This is not to say that we should live in a constant state of paranoia, suspicious of every message we encounter. Rather, it's about cultivating a healthy skepticism and a willingness to question our own assumptions and biases. It's about recognizing that our perceptions are not always objective reflections of reality, but are shaped by a complex interplay of conscious and unconscious factors. As technology continues to evolve, we can expect to see even more sophisticated and pervasive forms of subliminal influence emerge. Artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and other emerging technologies have the potential to blur the lines between reality and simulation, creating immersive experiences that can bypass our conscious defenses and tap into our deepest desires and fears. This raises a host of ethical concerns that we need to address proactively. How do we ensure that these powerful technologies are used responsibly and ethically? How do we protect our autonomy and privacy in a world where our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors can be influenced in increasingly subtle and sophisticated ways? These are not easy questions to answer, but they are questions that we can no longer afford to ignore. The future of subliminal influence is being written now, and it's up to us to ensure that it's a future that respects our autonomy, protects our privacy, and promotes human flourishing. The world of subliminal influence is complex and unsettling. It challenges our assumptions about reality and the power of our unconscious minds. Our thoughts and behaviors are shaped by subtle cues below our conscious awareness. In this age of information overload, it's crucial to cultivate skepticism and question our assumptions. By embracing awareness, we can navigate subliminal influence with greater discernment. Subliminal influence shapes our perceptions and nudges our behaviors in subtle ways. Awareness helps us make informed choices about the messages shaping our thoughts. In a world of ubiquitous persuasion, awareness is our most powerful defense.